Up next, we have Andy Busch. Mr. Busch is the former first Chief Market Intelligence Officer for the U.S. government. At the CFTC, he was charged with improving and enhancing the government's understanding of the markets. And he provided briefings to the White House, U.S. House, and U.S. Senate staffers on a wide range of issues, including extreme market volatility, China's influence on the global commodity markets, and the impact of fintech and virtual currencies on market dynamics. Mr. Busch created and directed a new research group, Market Intelligence Branch MIB, for the agency. As CMIO, his job was to provide objective research on the financial markets to the CFTC, SEC, U.S. Treasury, and Federal Reserve. Energy, agriculture, and interest rates and technology, Bitcoin, blockchain, and AI were some of the areas of research covered by the team. Please help me in welcoming Andy Busch to the stage.
All right. Yes, we covered a lot of ground at the agency. Before I get started, just a couple of quick questions. Hey, back in December, who had a few clients that were maybe struggling to understand why the markets went down so fast? Anybody have clients like that? How about in January? Anybody have clients struggling to figure out why the markets went up so fast? Anybody have clients like that? How about right now? Anybody struggling or having a few clients struggling to figure out like what is going on right now? A few like that? Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense. I mean, these are really difficult times. They're super challenging. And clients are struggling with this, right? They're trying to figure out why the markets are doing what they're doing. And you know what? Sometimes it has the potential to take away their focus from their long-term goals, right? That's the challenge of what's happening right now. But the good news is they want to hear from you. Your clients want you to communicate with them. But how do you get them back on track, right? How do you get them focused? Well, today, I want to help you with that. I want to help you with your client communications. I want you to be the trusted source of information for your clients, right? I want you to ease their concerns about the markets and really get back focused on their long-term goals. And you know, if you really think about it, trust, and we've heard a lot about that today, trust is the key currency for your clients. And it's the same for investors, and it's the same for high net worth individuals. You know what? I mean, you guys have a lot of challenges. I mean, if you think about it, you've got competition from robo-advisors, you've got, high compliance costs, high regulatory costs, you've got low interest rates, and of course, you've got these really volatile markets. What would it look? What would it feel like if you could communicate clearly and concisely to your clients? What would that look like? What if you could get them back on track and ease their concerns about what's going on in the markets, get them to focus on their long-term goals instead of all this craziness that's going on with the market noise on a day-to-day basis? What would that look like? What if you could enhance that bond of trust that you have with them? And maybe, just maybe, get them to use your services more? Well, the good news is this is exactly what we're going to do today. Now, we're going to talk about a lot of things. You heard in the introduction all the space that I covered. Well, we're going to cover a lot of that today. It's going to be a blast. We'll talk about interest rates, equities. We'll talk about the 2020 election. We'll talk about technology. But we're going to do more than that. We're going to do a little bit more than that. So I guess the question I have for you right now is this. How open-minded are you about learning a new way to look at the markets? How open-minded are you about learning a new way to look at the markets? Because today, I'm going to give you something that's just a little bit different. I'm going to give you something that's a little bit unusual. I'm going to give you the opportunity money model. The opportunity money model. Now, look, this isn't for everybody. I totally get it, but if you want a simple way to educate your clients, if you want a simple way to calm their fears and get them to focus on those long-term goals, if you want to get a simple way to enhance that trust that you already have with them and really take it to the next level and get them to use your services more, The opportunity money model is just one of those really great tools that you can have in your financial toolbox. And you know what? It all begins with this, right here. Ready? Did you get that? I know the first time I did it, or saw it actually, I didn't quite get it. So let me do it again. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you gravity. Now, some people laugh at that, and it's okay if you do. If you feel a little hesitant, that's all right. I'm going to tell some jokes, but no, gravitational pull. That's really what we're trying to figure out here. What is exerting gravitational pull on the markets and asset values? And when we think about gravitational pull, what we're really talking about is what are the masses out there that exert force on asset values? And when we think about that, we want to think about the big things that are out there, the big themes that are out there. And really what we want to specifically talk about are market narratives. What are the top market narratives that are out there that are driving asset values? So today, I'm going to frame these market narratives in a way, using the opportunity money model, I'll describe that in a minute, that will help you explain it to your clients. That's kind of the key of what we're going to do today. Because the world's pretty complex. What we're trying to do is make this thing really simple. So maybe we should start really, and level set is, because what I'm talking about in market narrative, you've probably heard that term a little bit. What does that really mean? I think everybody's read, kind of recaps of the markets, what's been happening, how they talk about it. But maybe the best way to do this is kind of give you my journey on how I came across market narrative. And it came in a really interesting place. So, as the introduction said, I just left the U.S. government. I was the Chief Market Intelligence Officer for the U.S. government, the first ever. And I worked at the nation's derivatives regulator, the CFTC. And in that role, I directed a team of 30 researchers covering market dynamics, liquidity, fragmentation, and structure. And then my job was also to communicate that out to the public. I see a couple quizzical looks in your eyes, and you're probably thinking, why would anybody take a job in this administration? Right, exactly. Are you just crazy, or are you stupid too, Andy? Right? Well, here's my thinking, right? Here's what happened. First and foremost, somebody asked me for my help. Well, when somebody asks you for your help, I generally try to give it to them, because it's the right thing to do. And the second thing is that somebody asked me to serve my country. Now, you don't get that asked too often in your life, and that's one you definitely should take advantage of, and talk and make sure you understand it and you do it. And then the third thing is I'm a lifelong learner, and I really wanted to understand government and how it worked at the highest levels. Since the 1980s, I've analyzed government, I've traded on it, I've made money on it, I've criticized it, I've had television shows on it. But to be honest, I really didn't understand how it worked until I went to work for it. And that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to see what government looked like, especially financial institutions, at the very highest level. And so that's another reason why I took that job. So let me get back to the market narrative. So one of the really cool things that I learned in government is this, and I know this may shock a few of you, but they actually do some really good things. Now let that sit for a second. Government does good things. These guys get my jokes down here. The rest of you are not like it. Seriously, when I went to work there, I was like, there's no way these people do anything that's worthwhile. It's terrible. That is not true. That is not true. Let me give you an example of one of the greatest things that happened to me while I was there. Every Friday, I was on an interagency phone call on markets. And on this call, everyone got on and talked about what were the big things that were happening in the markets that week. And who was on that call? Well, we were the CFTC, so highest staffs of these agencies. The CFTC, the SEC, the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Reserve Board, the Federal Reserve of New York, and the White House, and the NEC. And what was great about it is you got to hear from everybody's different perspective on things that were going on. And that's pretty cool. There are some brilliant people working in government. It's shocking, I know. Well, of course, I worked for government, so maybe toss that out. There are really other smart people that work there too. But the thing was really cool about it was like every other month, we had the principals come on. So the principals are Treasury Secretary Mnuchin, SEC Chairman Jay Clayton, CFTC Chairman Christian Carlo, and Senior Vice President from the Federal Reserve, Randy Quarles. And they would come on, we would do presentations about what was going on, and they would do this. Okay, that's great. What is the narrative around that? What is the market narrative around that? They would always ask these questions. And the first time I was on that call, it took me back to the early in my career in the 1980s when I would be on a markets discussion, and I felt like, and maybe you've experienced this too, but I felt like I was the only person in the room that didn't know what the acronyms were. Have you ever been on a call like that? And what do? You say nothing, right? You don't say a word. So I thought to myself, well, I better learn what this market narrative is. So I dug around, looked some research, and I really wanted to define it clearly. And I dug up something called narrative economics. It's a wonderful paper by a Nobel Prize winner. Maybe you've heard of Bob Shiller, Dr. Bob Shiller, or the K. Shiller thing, right? Yeah. He is a wonderful man. I did a podcast with him. If you get a chance, that is a blast to listen to. He's so smart and so genuine. But his definition of narrative economics is this. It's the study and dynamics of popular narratives, stories of human interest and emotion, and how they change over time to help explain economic fluctuations. And all we're doing with market narrative is we're just putting market narrative in there instead of economic narratives. And that's what we want to use. Okay, so that's level setting on exactly what it is. It's the big themes that are out there that create trends and drive momentum in those trends. So that's what we're searching for. And so there are three big ones. There's U.S. monetary policy, there's U.S. domestic policy, and there's technology. And using the opportunity money model, here's how we're going to frame these. So when we think about monetary policy, U.S. monetary policy, and today's a great day to be doing this because the Federal Reserve's meeting today, we'll decide on interest rates tomorrow. We want to frame it and think of it as the sun. It is the biggest planet in our universe. It has the strongest gravitational pull. And pretty much everything evolves around it. You see that in the markets today. If you read anything, any recaps of the markets today, what do they say? Everything's on hold until the Fed gets done with their meetings. So that's how we want to frame it, as the sun. Okay. The next thing is U.S. domestic policy. We want to think of it as the Earth. It's a lot smaller, but it can have still really strong pull. Think of it like, tariffs and sanctions or changing tax laws, regulatory policy, those kind of things. And then finally, technology. Now, technology's impact is smaller, so we want to think of it as the moon, right? Less gravitational pull, but still can make an impact. Now, I bet what you're thinking to yourself is like, holy smokes, I've been here all morning, that guy Kevin was fantastic, Amy was wonderful, really got caught up, and this guy, I'm off my caffeine right now, and he's talking about gravity and planets in the markets. This stinks, right? No, seriously, hear me out. This is the way you want to look at it. If you think about how do these policies impact, geopolitics? Right? Think of the sun, right? Think of the Fed's monetary policy. That radiates out beyond the United States. It impacts places and values like the emerging markets. And the Earth, U.S. domestic policy, trade and sanctions, think about that. Right, think about Iran, think about China, think about Mexico, think about Canada. All are impacting those. And technology, boy, right in the headlines today. What did we hear about today on cyber? Huawei, right? They actually found back doors in their telecommunications equipment. And yet the UK is moving forward on using them for 5G. kind of emblematic of what's going on in the UK right now with Brexit. They can't seem to get their act together. But, I mean, that's technology. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to use this, right? We're going to use this platform, this model. And what we want to look for specifically is, are these planets all moving in the same direction? Because guess what? If they're all pulling in the same direction, that is a powerful move that's going to happen. It could be up, or it could be down. If they're not aligned, then we're not going to get the same power of a move. And I think today, let's start by providing some context, because I think too often we get the here and now instead of the why and the how of what's going on in the market. So I want to take you back a little bit. I want to take you back to the fall of 2016 and what was going on with our sun, earth, and moon. If you think back to the fall of 2016, before the presidential election, what was going on with the sun? Monetary policy. They had raised rates twice, right? And the economy, what did we hear about in the economy? It was the new normal, right? There is no way we're going to